Hey friends, what's up? Derek here from B.O.M Socks with another day of B.O.M-BITES, where we feast upon the words of Christ, one bite at a time. So like I said yesterday, I introduced you to the Psalms, which is like Israel's hymn book. There's 150 of these things. And so if I've learned one thing as I've been studying the Psalms this last little bit, we are not going to cover every single awesome thing in the Psalms. There's going to be verses that we're going to miss. You're going to be like, Derek, why didn't you cover this one? There's so many to do. So I want to try to focus on some themes this particular week, as we're basically going through the first 46 Psalms. The Come Follow Me for this week gives you basically Psalm 1, and then we finish up with Psalm 46. And these have their themes, just like in the hymn book. There are some certain themes that come with them, and they blend together just like our hymn book as well. So one of the things that I do want to focus on is, of course, finding Jesus Christ in the Psalms. In the Come Follow Me for this week, it talks about how the Psalms point our minds to the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. And you're going to see a couple this week that really do that. Several of the Psalms point to the mortal life of Jesus Christ. Christians in New Testament times saw these connections too. For example, they recognized in Psalm 2 a reference to Jesus' trials before King Herod and Pontius Pilate. Consider reading Psalm 2 and 22, which we're going to get into in a moment here, along with references in Matthew and in Luke and in John. Look for the connections between the words in these Psalms and the life of the Savior, and keep looking for similar connections as you study the book of Psalms throughout the next few weeks. Now, there's a cool statement here that I really love. Imagine that you were a Jew in Jesus' time who was familiar with the Psalms and saw connections to the Savior's life. How might this knowledge have been a blessing to you? Now, one of the ones we're going to focus on here, like I said, is Psalm 22. Now, in Psalm 22, the chapter heading, it says, a messianic psalm of David. So you're going to see that often through the Psalms, where this is specific to the Messiah, Jesus Christ. He foretells events in the Messiah's life. The Messiah will say, now this is verse number 1 of chapter 22, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Why art thou so far from helping me and from the words of my roaring? Now, as you're looking at that, you're like, wait, I've heard that before, because those are words that Jesus taught. When I say taught, the cross is a very unorthodox classroom, but Jesus taught some wonderful messages from the cross. And one of those is, as he's suffering, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Now, one of the things I had read about this is it talked about how Jesus quoted the Psalms a lot. Now, if you remember from our yesterday's episode, in the Come Follow Me, it talks about how Jesus quoted the Psalms a lot. This could be one of those instances where Jesus is very much quoting from the Psalms as he is on the cross. Now, I don't want to discount the suffering that he is going through, but at the same point, this is Jehovah. This is God of the Old Testament. This is the one who is going to make all things right. And at this moment, yes, he is suffering, but I believe also at this point, he is referencing a psalm to his believers that are watching him there. Now, the cool thing about this psalm, you go back to the chapter heading, and it does talk about they will pierce his hands and his feet. That is mentioned here specifically as well. And then he will yet govern among all nations. Now, this is a psalm that not only shows the suffering, but it also gives hope to very, very difficult situations. You go to verse 22. I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee. Verse 25, my praise shall be of thee in the great congregation. I will pay my vows before them that hear him. Now, one of the things that we do know is after Jesus Christ was crucified, he goes to the spirit world. And what does he do in the spirit world? He starts teaching large groups of individuals the gospel of Jesus Christ. We know from section 138 of the Doctrine and Covenants, that wonderful section from Joseph F. Smith. Now, in 138, verse 12, it says, there were gathered together in one place an innumerable company of the spirits of the just, who had been faithful in the testimony of Jesus while they lived in mortality. Verse 16, they were assembled, this congregation, awaiting the advent of the Son of God into the spirit world, to declare their redemption from the bands of death. You go down to verse 18, where he is declaring liberty to the captives that had been faithful. So here he is preaching to this congregation right here. So I really do believe that as Jesus Christ is saying, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He is teaching not only a message about suffering, but he's teaching a message about how things are going to work out. Yes, we are going to suffer in this life, but there is happy endings to those who show faith in in Jesus Christ. So I can picture Jesus on the cross sharing this particular psalm to his followers, reminding them that things are going to work out okay. That's one of the reasons why I love this psalm, and I think there's some great counsel here. And again, not to devalue the suffering of the Savior, but I do want to emphasize the importance that things are going to work out, which I believe this Psalm 22 really focuses on. Well, we've got, one down, 149 to go. And so we're going to take you through a few more this week. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And thanks so much for sharing these messages. We are so grateful that you do that. And if you haven't already, please go check out our amazingly comfortable gospel-themed socks at bombsocks.com. And you guys have a great day. And we'll see you tomorrow. Godspeed. Bye-bye.